Slaughterhouse Sports. We're going to be talking, some NFL news a little bit here this afternoon here on Thursday, November 2nd edition of the show. Sorry, just getting over some allergies, but here we go. Here we go. So Arthur Smith, Desmond Ridder, let's talk about it. Desmond Ridder this year has not been solid. And even against Tampa Bay, he had some moments, but he still had 3 turnovers in that game. The fumbles are a huge concern. I know that he's a young quarterback, but this team is a win-now team. I mean, with the additions that they've made on the defensive side of the ball, like Jesse Bates, Calais Campbell, Yamada, Ellis, all the additions that they've made, and then with Ryan Nielsen and how well this defense is playing and how crappy this division is, and considering the coaches in year 3 has only won 7 games in really you could say 6 games because they went like 6-10 both years. This was really a time where Arthur Blank was saying to Arthur Smith, okay, we have a window here to make the playoffs. And Atlanta, what they're trying to do is they're trying to turn it around and really be like maybe that Houston Texans of, the mid-2000s. And right now they're going from an average football team and they're trying to take it to a good football team. So a good football team this year with the remaining schedule that Atlanta has, a good football team would make the playoffs this year, period. They would make the playoffs and they would win this division. I mean, this division has middling quarterbacks. This division does not have, the greatest. It has all right coaches in this division. The defenses in this division are decent, but really Atlanta is probably the best team if you're talking about coaching and with players that this division has. I mean, the Saints are an average team. The Bucs are, are really not playing effective football, and they're having a first-place schedule because they won the division last year. And then Carolina, the Panthers are a totally rebuilding team. So it's important for Arthur Smith to win this division. Desmond Ridder is a third-round pick at quarterback. He has concerns coming out of Cincinnati, like it's the arm strength, accuracy. He's had some accuracy concerns. In terms of seeing the game, in terms of reading the game, he puts the ball in harm's way quite a bit. In terms of setting protections, he's taken a lot of sacks. He's fumbled the ball. He's had some terrible, terrible turnovers. And really, this offense under Ridder has really struggled. He's not really finding receivers well. They're going 3 and out a ton. And it's very choppy and inconsistent. Now, he is a young quarterback, but he is in his second year, and the competition that Atlanta is playing, he's just got to be the offense has just got to be more consistent. It's one of the more it's one of the worst offenses in the NFL in a lot of ways. So the thing is, Heinicke's going to come in, and Taylor Heinicke, 6'1" quarterback, 28 years old, undrafted player. But, the thing is he does have experience, and maybe this offense, maybe this passing game can be a little bit better, and maybe Heinicke won't make the backbreaking mistakes that Ridder's going to make. And now you have 2 games that you got to win. I mean, the Vikings are trotting in Jaron Hall. I know that they've just won a couple of games, but I believe they're a 3-4 football team. They're trotting in a brand new quarterback. I mean, if it was Kirk Cousins, they're down Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson on their offense. You have a home game. You got to come out physically, and you got to win this game and win it decisively. You should win it by 3 scores. You should be up pretty early in the game, and Heinicke should be able to win. And then you go to play probably the worst roster in the NFL. You go to Arizona before your bye, and I know that it's on the road, and I know that Arizona can be a little bit of a tricky place to play and whatever, and they might have Kyler Murray coming back. You're still a more talented team. That's year 1 there of Jonathan Gannon. You got to win these next 2 games of Heinicke and get to 6-4 on the season. Atlanta this year can get to 10 or 11 wins. They're really a quarterback away and a wide receiver 1 away from being a great, great team. If Grady Jarrett was healthy, this D-line is really nasty with Ryan Nielsen. They've built a really good D-line. A.J. Terrell, Jeff Okuda's probably going to get a new deal. I'm liking this defense a lot. I really am with Ryan Nielsen, and they've had some turnovers during the year, and I think that was a really good hire. Dean Pease retires, and then you bring in Ryan Nielsen. Really great hire by the Atlanta Falcons. So Atlanta is hitting on a lot of guys in free agency, and they're hitting on their coordinators. So the thing is, for Arthur Smith, I think Drake London's I think he's a really good receiver. However, I think that there's faster guys in this draft class. Of course, Marvin Harrison's going to be, a guy, but I really think Malik Neighbors can be a superstar receiver coming up in this draft. So you could really try to go out there and maybe get a Malik Neighbors. You also might have the ability to spend on, you have to monitor if T. Higgins will be out there, and you have to see his market. But really, if Taylor Heinicke plays solid quarterback, you can be looking at a Matt Schaub-led Texans team where they had Arian Foster, they had Andre Johnson, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London are really good. I mean, Drake London's still a good receiver in the NFL, but you're talking about an elite number one receiver. You got to open up running lanes for Bijan Robinson, for Tyler Algier. Algier hasn't gotten going at all this year. This offensive line has really struggled. So it makes you think, one, is Arthur Smith going to be calling the plays on offense next year? We know he can be a decent head coach. We know he could CEO his way, but is he really – the thing is with Heinicke and Smith is they've got to have some really consistent offensive performances here. And, the thing is with Heinicke is he's shown to be a little bit turnover prone. He hasn't won a ton of games. His record's like a 500 quarterback. However, this is his best – this is his best chance to really pave out a career where he's a fringe starter and really see if he can honestly hold down the job. I mean, for Taylor Heinicke to hold down the job, he's got to come in here a quarterback. He's got to win games and be consistent and get to about 11 wins. And it's cool that he's an Atlanta kid, and I'm really rooting for Heinicke to do pretty well. In terms of Desmond Ridder, he's got to be ready to go. He's got to improve, in terms of, recognition, in terms of, seeing defenses, in terms of reaction times, throwing with anticipation. The book is definitely not, written on Desmond Ridder. It's not at all closed. And this is a very fluid situation where Arthur Smith in year 3, there is a lot of urgency with the money that they've spent for them to win this division, and you're going with a more veteran quarterback that can hopefully turn the ball over less so that you can win these upcoming games here. And these games you got to be able to win. And in fact, I'm going to look at the rest of the schedule, but really this year, Arthur Smith doesn't have time to sit with the growing pains of a Desmond Ridder. And Desmond Ridder, in terms of his, upside talent, it's not like he's an incredible runner of the ball. He has a decent arm, but the flashes, I don't know if the turnovers, unfortunately, it's not like he has the skill set of like Anthony Richardson, that's 6'4", great running the ball, or Josh Allen early in Buffalo, who was a first-round pick, but Josh Allen had that cannon of an arm. Desmond Ridder is really thin. He is he's not built. He's not stocky and really built. He's very, very thin. He's a decent runner of the ball. He's a great leader. Intangibly, he has everything you would want. He does have decent arm strength, maybe even up there with Heinicke. But right now in this situation, Arthur Smith needs to win this year. And he can't wait on Desmond Ridder to continue to make these mistakes. He has a young team on offense, but this defense is ready to compete. This defense is a playoff defense for sure. It's an 11-win defense. It's a 12-team defense. The offensive line and the tight ends and running backs are totally capable of being a 11 or 12-win team. It's about the passing game. That's the ingredient that is going to free up the running game. And Taylor Heinicke came in there against Tennessee and operated this offense. But if Taylor Heinicke struggles, either this week or next week, and they go 1-1 and lose one of these games, then Ridder really can be a factor coming in again after the bye. But in terms of Heinicke or Ridder being the long-term solution at quarterback, that's going to go a lot. They're going to have to prove. I think Heinicke has a chance here to prove he can be the quarterback next year and going forward. But it's going to take consistent play and winning games that you're supposed to win. But the good news is for Atlanta, they have some cap flexibility still going forward. They're building this thing patiently. The key is, can Atlanta go from average and mediocre to good? We're not talking about average to great, but we're talking about hosting a playoff game and potentially winning a playoff game. That's what they can do. We see the talent on this roster. We see Ryan Nielsen and this defense is working. We see how sometimes Arthur Smith in this running game and Kyle Pitts and Drake London can contribute. This team in this division is set up to win, and that's why they made the move to Taylor Heinicke at quarterback. However, for Ridder and everybody, it's fluid. Because of Heinicke's a journeyman, he's not a shoo-in to be the starter going forward long term. It's fluid. We're going to check in week after week. But against Minnesota, Heinicke is poised with how the defense should play. He's poised to hopefully get a lot of opportunities and do well. And I want to see the Falcons do well. So, I'm going to read you the remainder of their schedule before we conclude this video on Heinicke and on the Falcons. I think it was the right time because, again, Arthur Smith, if he stays with Ridder and they win 6 games, then you're going to see some holes in the play calling. But then the fan base, ownership, and everybody, you're going to see 3 losing seasons. And with this division being as poor as it is, with the schedule being the easiest schedule in the league, okay, the quarterbacks that they've played this year, I mean, the teams, I know they went to Detroit, I know they played the Jags in London, but you're playing Green Bay. Green Bay turned out to not be very good. You still got Chicago left on the schedule. You don't play Kirk Cousins at quarterback. You played Carolina to start out the year when Carolina was at its worst. You played Washington. You lost to the Titans and Washington that are 2 8-8 teams, very average football teams. It's an average schedule. There's no real world beaters left. Okay. Vikings at home, Cardinals on the road. These next 2 weeks are huge. And then you hit a bye, which is needed. So hopefully you're 6-4. Saints at home, that's your competition in the division. You can win that game at home. The Saints lost to the Texans. You could get to Derek Carr. That defense can hum. You can win that game and go 7-4 if Heinicke is decent. You go on the road and you play the Jets. It's going to have to be low scoring. They're a really good team. Defensively, they have some guys, but it's going to be cold. You're going to have to play physical, but really winnable game. Could be even 8-4. At worst, you are 7-5. You play the Bucs at home. You play the Bucs and Panthers at home. You should be 9-5 or 10-4 with that. You're going to be favored in these games. You should be, especially with the Bucs at home. You have the Colts and you have the Colts then at home after. You have the Colts at home after after Carolina. You go to Chicago. They'll probably be tanking. So, and then you have the Saints. Overall, 12, 11 wins. Totally on the table. Every game you're going to be in. Let's get some decent quarterback play. Let's win some football games.